How many of us can swear with Quran or Bible that in any way they are not supporting drug abusers in their constituency? I am happy if all of us can swear with the Holy Quran that they are not in any way in support of drug abusers or intoxicating youth in their constituency to take drugs for their political. And Mr. President,
After
Mr. President,
Sumaila, you speak to give the medical perspective to it, right? But 1 minute, please.
Mr. President, my dear, respected and distinguished honorable colleagues, I am Suleiman Abdurrahman Kau Sumaila, representing Kano South Senatorial District. Mr. President, I think the intent of this bill, the content, and the general consensus of our distinguished senators are in support of anything that will stop drugs-related abuses in Nigeria. Therefore, but, Mr. President, there is one aspect which we need to look into. Whether we created this agency, whether we strengthen the activities of NDLA, we need to do something. We, as politicians, we, as leaders in this country, we, as stakeholders, we need to do a lot. We all believe that religiously, both Islam and Christianity, even in our traditional religion, drugs-related abuse or drug abuse is prohibited. But who are encouraging and who are supporting it? Mr. President, we cannot achieve the result. We cannot achieve the intent of this bill unless and until we all agree that we will put our head together with relevant stakeholders to stop drugs abuse in Nigeria. Let us ask ourselves during our campaign, what are we doing with the so-called youth? How many of us can swear with Quran or Bible that in any way they are not supporting drug abusers in their constituency? I am happy if all of us can swear with the Holy Quran that they are not in any way in support of drug abusers or intoxicating youth in their constituency to take drugs for their political. And Mr. President, we need, whether we are allowing this bill to continue to have an agency or we are strengthening LDE, we need to create a situation where before contesting election or before taking appointment at whatever in government level, you must go for drugs test. Finally, Mr. President, now I am speaking, I am here, as I am speaking now, most of our officers in our constituencies, most of our political office in our constituencies, most of our houses, when you go there, you will find out that there is mountain of drugs, and there are drugs dealers in our offices and in our houses or in our houses. I am immune to talk. I am in the chamber of the Senate, and I can take you to some of the political leaders who are in so many ways contributing or supporting drugs abuses in Nigeria. Therefore, Mr. President, we need to be serious. If we are talking, we need to understand we are all 19 here. Nigerians are watching us.
Thank you very much.
God is with us. We must fight it between from our own side, not making law or not talking in the chamber of the Senate. We need to be serious. Let us go through the test and see who are not.
But excuse me, please, let me draw the attention.
Yes.
Order, please.
Let me go for the drug test.
Order, please. Order, please.
From me.
Order. Let me draw the attention of my distinguished brother, Senator Kao Sumaila, to order 56. Debate upon any motion, bill or amendment shall be relevant to such motion, bill or amendment except in the case of a substantive motion for the adjournment of the Senate. We should, when we are speaking, where we are contributing, our contribution to be relevant to the subject matter. In this case, your contribution is not relevant to the subject matter. I therefore rule out of order. Senator.
I want to thank the mover of this motion, my very good friend. But I have serious concerns, not about the intention. There is no disputing the fact that drug abuse has become a serious national challenge. But I think that in anything we do in this Senate, we must ask the question, can we not do it differently and get the same outcome without establishing so many institutions? Earlier in the year, the executive decided to review the much talked about Roshayi report, where we found that there are so many agencies with it, whose mandate appear to be in conflict or overlapping. As we speak, Mr. President, sir, we have the NDLA. The sole mandate of NDLA is not only to address and prosecute drug traffickers. It is to deal with the whole gamut of drug abuse, enlighten those involved in drug abuse. They have training institute. They have all of the things they are supposed to do. My suggestion, Mr. President, and I think the senator who I just left his seat to arrest the president is being unfair. Mr. President, sir. No, I cannot, sir, because I even need to persuade you. I need to persuade you to understand the logic, the basis of my statement. I think what is possible is for us to look at the existing law that has to do with NDLA, whose mandate is captured here substantially, to see whether we need to make amendment to that law if there are certain things that the agency is not able to do because of some gap in the law that establishes it. But in my opinion, this idea of setting up an agency for every aspect of life, every area in which we have challenges, if we were to do so, we are going to have law against cough, law against all sorts of things, all the problems we have in Nigeria. I feel with profound respect to my dear friend and to my colleague, distinguished senators, let us look at this bill, the actual bill, not this debate, because we're actually debating without blindly, because the law is not before us. Reconcile it with the law establishing the NDLA and see whether or not we just need to strengthen the NDLA or we need a complete new outfit. My worry is that we are spending so much money on overhead. You are going to have directors, you are going to have boards, you are going to have all kinds of buildings, etc., etc. All of that goes into recurrent expenditure, which add little or no value to the quality of life of Nigerians. I agree we must deal decisively with drug-related issues, but I'm not convinced that we need to establish yet another agencies that will be competing with the NDLA. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Started. Everybody knew where you are going to. So thank you for your contribution. Senator Hussein Babangida.
Regarding the proliferation of institutions of governance and the need to curb the cost of governance. I think that is one of the objectives of this administration. However, yesterday, I was privileged to attend the National Conversation 3.0, which was essentially dealing with issues of mental health in Nigeria. At the session, I had Senator Iya Abbas and Senator Pharmacy Sadiq. And the conclusion at that session was that what we need to do is to strengthen and deepen the activities of NDLEA. Secondly, to incorporate mental health issues into our secondary and tertiary medical health care system. At the same time, we deepen as well and encourage civil society organizations to contribute towards drug education at the family, community, secondary, and primary school level. And then we identify champions of drug abuse in all the 774 local governments of Nigeria who will champion the formation and the advocacy regarding the issue of drug abuse. What we are not mindful of right now, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is the scale of the problem we are facing. Yesterday, we were told, and there are empirical evidences to that effect, that every day new forms of drugs are being imported into Nigeria. And then, to even worsen matters, our youth are now compounding drugs, bringing all manner of chemicals. I was shaken to my marrow, Mr. President, yesterday, when I was told that dried human feces are turned and smoked just to give these our young men a high. I think it is important we really, really sit down to address this issue. However, I still feel in Kano, for instance, you will recall, Mr. President, you championed the expansion and the creation of Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Dawanau in Kano. We can look at such institutions, strengthen them, provide adequate funding, get staffing for them, and actually educate our people on the need to patronize them. It is interesting to note that the statistics yesterday said 25% of Nigerians suffer one form of mental health or the other, meaning that even here, Mr. President, sir, out of the 109 senators that we have, 20, that's the statistics. But that's the statistics. But the truth is, we have serious problem in dealing with the issues of drug abuse in Nigeria, and it is important we face it squarely by deepening and strengthening the institutions that we have on ground without creating new ones. Thank you, sir.
No, excuse me. He will speak, then you speak.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, let me start by thanking the Deputy Minority Whip who moved this very important bill for second reading. So I listened to the comment front and back on the importance of this bill, vis-a-vis the need to be cautious on not repeating what has been in existence. But sir, I want to start from where the last speaker stopped, of the importance of and the effect of drug abuse on the people and the nation at large. You know, most of the existing laws are more of arresting, taking punitive measures, and they say prevention is better than cure. The intention of this bill, as presented, is on the awareness and prohibition, something that we can emphasize across the board before the action is taken. If the action is taken, any effort you do after that is based after that. This particular bill is seeking to concretize an effort of government on the awareness, on various impacts, talking to the people's mind directly. So there's nothing we spend on this kind of thing that is too much, because the effect, the cost of the effect is far too much magnanimous than what we are going to spend to cure it. So we should not bother about the cost. This is very central. It affects the lives of the people, and by implication, it affects every other sector of the economy. Nigeria is growing wide, and people are everywhere. When the population is big, the problem also becomes bigger. So I want to make sure we support this bill, and we now focus on that. It's like the National Rehabilitation Agency. All various agencies should support this bill so that we talk to the mind of our youth and even the elders
Thank
who
you,
are
leader.
involved on this.
Thank you.
Sir.
Former leader Abdul Ningi.
The recognition. My name is Senator Abdul Ningi, and I do represent Bauchi Central, Bauchi State. Mr. President, for all intents and purposes, a bill at the second reading carries the good, the bad, and the ugly. It is very, very important that this chamber does not become a court of law. This chamber should not look at technicality, no matter how strong, to throw a bill into a dustbin. Mr. President, why are we different from court? When a judge passes a sentence, he doesn't come out to explain the reason why he does it to the people. But when a parliament passes a bill or a motion, as the representative of the people, he now listens to them. He goes to them. Now, when a bill becomes second reading, it is the opinion of that member or members put together. And therefore, to truncate a bill at the second reading for a mere technicality, begin to ask a question of people not actually taking cognizance of what a bill needs to do, what a member goes through to produce a bill. My take on this matter, yes, there are proliferation of agencies. But believe me, sir, if we are going to have 10 agencies in this country that will deal with the problem of drugs, so be it. Drug is the mother of all evil. Without drug, you can't see banditry. Without drugs, you can't see this rampant prostitution. Without drugs, you can see all these vices across this country. The mover is coming from Kano. Mr. President, not only Kano, most of the cities undoing today is an issue that has to do with drugs. Lastly, Mr. President, before Tony, when you see this bill, you refer it. Why are you referring it to the committee that deals with drugs and narcotics, which also NDLEA is part of it? And they go for public hearing. And it is the duty of that committee, when bringing their report, to make any amendment possible before the Nigerian Senate. And therefore, it is incumbent at every given time to advise senators that please, it is not intellectualism to shoot bill at the second reading because of mere technicality.
Thank you.
It is important that we know it and recognize it. Thank you very much for this attention.
Now, the mover, probably he wants to shed some light that are hidden. You know, you say he wants to do something, say something. So you want to draw our attention to something, or you want to join the debate? What actually do you want to do?
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I remain Mohammed Adamu Alero, representing the good people of Kebbi Central. Mr. President, I rise to support this bill, heavily sponsored by our elder, Senator Rufai Hanga, for 2 or 3 reasons. Number one, drug abuse in Nigeria has reached an alarming proportion. In fact, it is being said that in every family, we have drug-related problem in Nigeria. In every family, whether it is from the rich or from the poor. And it is so serious that it deserves to be given appropriate attention. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, as you rightly know, the violent crimes witnessed by Nigeria today, to a large extent, is a result of drug abuse. Even these bandits, before they go and carry arms they go and take a lot of drugs in order to be intoxicated. Even housewives, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the problem has permeated to that level. So all hands should be on deck to tame this ugly tide. It is wrong to really kill this bill at the second reading. Let's allow it to go for public hearing. We will hear the pros and cons of it.
Thank you.
But various agencies will be invited to come and give their inputs, including the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. It is only then we will be able to know whether they are in a position to adequately tame the tide. And if they need another administrative structure, it is then we will go ahead and create it. So I believe we should allow this bill to go for second reading instead of killing it, like my colleague said, we should not rely on technicalities. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, so many people want to speak.
Senator Peter
But Chief Whip, he has to start. Deputy Whip, he has to start.
Okay, sir.
And then he himself and you. But if you allow him, okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I remain Senator Peter Onyekachimwe Ebonyi with the golden crown of the people of Ebonyi North Senatorial Zone. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to support this bill to an extent. What this bill intends to achieve is already the primary duty of NDLEA. And I want to also submit that it is beyond this. You may recall, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, that when we had the opportunity of amending the NDLEA Act, I made a submission which was carried by all and sundry that if actually we want to end drug trafficking in Nigeria, we should make drug trafficking a capital offense. We can't continue to dilly-dally on issues, creating agencies, whereas there are fundamental solutions to it. The solution to it is to make drug abuse or drug trafficking a capital offense. By this, when you nip the problem from the bud, the problem is dead and dead forever. So I wish to let these Nigerians to know that the right thing to do is to make drug abuse a capital offense in Nigeria, as is obtainable in India, South Africa, US. By so doing, if not completely eradicated, it will be minimized to a barest minimum. Thank you.
The Deputy Leader.
Yesterday night, I had a lot of sleepless nights. I visited my constituency, and the most worrisome thing was the devastating effects, not only of trafficking in drug, but in consumption of this drug. Mr. President, there are so many things we should understand and put into consideration when it comes to issue of drug and narcotic. Drug issue had become a very big economy, very big one among our youthful population. Drug issue had become a very, very serious problem to the extent that I have a terrible fear for our tomorrow as a nation. Without being economical with truth, more than 70% of our youthful population are into drug consumption. And from my own little discussion in my constituency, I discovered that the issue goes beyond NDLEA. NDLEA had become so compromised, so ineffective, to the extent that leaving drug enforcement or drug education to NDLEA we will never get where we are going to.
Thank you, leader. Thank you. You made your point. Chief, you have one.
Distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Mr. President, the issue of drug trafficking and drug consumption has become so endemic and has eaten to the very fabric of society. And it was against this backdrop that there is a need to create the agency as suggested by this bill for the purpose of tackling a problem that has become so endemic and has eaten into the fabric of our society. For example, offenses of fraud, offenses of corruption, and mismanagement are issues that are cognizable by the police. But because it has become so endemic and has eaten deep into the fabric of society, we created ICPC, we created EFCC, we created NFIU, and series of other agencies with a view to tackling such a hydra-headed problem that has eaten deep into the fabric of society. So, Mr. President, mutatis mutandis, there is a need for us to equally create this agency as sponsored in this bill to tackle headlong this hydra-headed problem of drug trafficking and drug consumption that has eaten deep into the fabric of society. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dixon. Then
Siraki Dixon, Bayelsa West. The President, first of all, I commend our colleague, the lead sponsor, for initiating this bill. And I commend you too for the way and manner you have conducted this debate by allowing members, as many members who want to say something on this very important subject matter to do so. And the reason I have stood up is to lend my voice also to this debate. Mr. President and my dear colleagues, as we all know, there is a national crisis.
a minute, please. Please let me remind senators about Order 55-9. When a senator is speaking, no senator may converse aloud or make any noise or disturbance to interrupt him. Please, can we keep quiet, please? Could you please listen to Senator Dixon?
Thank you, Mr. President and my dear colleagues. As I was saying, our nation, in addition to several other problems, is currently faced with a national crisis of narcotics. We have a narcotic crisis at the family level, at community levels, in our wards and local governments and states, all across the length and breadth of this country. And that has also emerged in the course of this conversation. It is on that note that I want to say firstly, that I align myself with this bill, but not necessarily leading to the establishment of a body. But I align myself with the suggestions of distinguished Senator Ningi and Senator Alero. Because of the importance of the subject matter, my dear friends, let's not dismiss this bill or abort it at this stage. Let us, at least at this level, agree in general principle that there is need to strengthen the mechanism of enforcement in that sector and pass this bill so that at the committee level, in the presence of all the stakeholders, and in particular the NDLA, the Ministry of Justice, and then the other related agencies, they can now brainstorm and, if possible, rework the proposals as a necessary and appropriate amendment to the existing NDLA bill. That does not nullify the submissions and the guidance offered by Senator Shomole as to the need to avoid proliferation. But the subject matter we are dealing with is so important. We are losing the future of this country, losing the future of our families.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it is fueling criminality, it's fueling all forms of crimes and misdemeanors in our country. Finally, I want to use this opportunity to urge all of us in our constituency appropriations and in exercising our appropriation powers to allot, sufficient funds to support the NDLE. I'm not saying that everybody should do what some of us have done. We can even build NDLA offices. I tried to do one in my place. And also carry out drug consultants and outreach programs, enlightenment programs for the young people as part of our own support.
Thank you,
to
Senator
fight
Dixon.
it at the grassroots level. But in all, I am in support of the general principles, and that this bill should be passed for second reading so that they can fine-tune it as an appropriate amendment to the NDLA law. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your...
Yes.
Order, please.
Okay,
Let me...
go for the drug test.
Order, please. Order, please.
From me.
Order. Let me draw the attention of my distinguished brother, Senator Kao Sumela, to Order 56. Debate upon any motion, bill or amendment shall be relevant to such motion, bill or amendment except in the case of a substantive motion for the adjournment of the Senate. We should, when we are speaking, where we are contributing, our contribution to be relevant to the subject matter. In this case, your contribution is not relevant to the subject matter. I therefore rule out of order. Senator.
I think we are mixing two things here. The NDLEA is saddled with the responsibility of identifying, investigating, and prosecuting offenders of drug and drug-related offenses. What this bill is trying to establish is a response mechanism, a center that people that are bedeviled with that, a center that will help people that have drug-related issues. And I want to assure you, as a medical doctor, that we don't have those centers, even in Abuja, talk less of Kano. So I strongly support that we should have this, even if it's not an institute, a center that will be a rehabilitation, national rehabilitation center for drug and drug-related diseases, because this is a medical issue now, not a police issue. Thank you.
I represent the good people of Lagos West. Mr. President, I do not want us to lose sight of the intent of this bill, which has to do with facilitating rehabilitation of drug users. It is important that we note that, yes, NDLA can deal with the issue of awareness. NGOs are already dealing with that. So many agencies of government at the subnationals are dealing with the issue of awareness. But I wish it's important, and which I would like us to please pay attention to, is the rehabilitation center for already drug users. Instead of them being condemned, it should not be out of place for us to give them an opportunity to be rehabilitated and integrated back into the society. It is this that I plead, and I want to advise the mover of this motion to please readdress this bill, to look at the last leg of what he has raised in the bill, which is a rehabilitation center for drug users. I so submit, Mr. President.
Kenneth Eze.
Mr. President, I rise to add my voice to this very important bill. Very important that the issue of drug abuse requires emergency attention in this country. This bill is very important because it seeks to establish an institution saddled with the sole responsibility of rehabilitation, creating awareness and treatment. And it is very important to the extent that drug abuse affects every sector of the society. But for the top echelon, it is not well pronounced. But at the downtrodden, it is well pronounced. And these people are helpless. They can't help themselves. This institution seeks to help those less privileged ones. Drug abusers are littered everywhere in the streets and society here and there, and are helpless. They can't afford treatment. They can't afford, even their parents cannot take them to any rehabilitation center. NDLA is already saddled with enormous responsibility of prosecution, prevention, and arrest. That is an enormous responsibility. Let's allow them remain there.
Your time is off. Thank you.
An institution like this be established to handle the issue of rehabilitation.
Thank you. Senator Dikeplan, you have half a minute.
From the bill presented, awareness rehabilitation is more civic compared to what NDLE does. I feel that the purpose of the bill is to preempt, prevent, and protect any other innocent person that might have not gotten into it. And if you look at the exponential rise in drug trafficking, you will know that the job is too much on NDLE. And therefore, the formation of this will help to prevent any intending person. I believe that if this bill passes and we end up having an agency like that, we will have composition of even the clergy, teachers, and various professionals in the institute educating, enlightening people, and enlightening people towards the danger of drugs. I feel the bill is proper and it will help to reduce the job of NDLEA by preventing intended people that may have joined. I support the bill, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our Senate President, I am Otumba Benga Daniel, representing Ogun East. I will be very brief, but in accepting what I've heard here today, without any doubt, the issue of drug abuse and its consequences is not just a subnational or a national issue. It has international dimensions. There are a few countries who are virtually ruled by warlords, drug warlords. But my own point of dissent appears to fall in line with what Senator Adams Oshiomhole said. That in as much as there is indeed a need to do something, how we do it appears to be the issue. And I'm a bit concerned that we continue to recreate various agencies duplicating functions. In my own opinion, Mr. President, I think what we need to do is how to strengthen NDLEA. I, in fact, believe that the NDLEA today is probably one of the few efficient organizations that we have. And we do not have any tradition of encouraging organizations that are doing well. I think what we need to do actually, moving forward, is to see how else we can support NDLEA to carry out what clearly is one of their functions. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, distinguished Senator.
Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, we've had a very robust debate on what I think is a very disturbing situation in each and every constituency. In rounding up or summarizing this debate, I would like to lend my voice to the argument that we must be very practical and take the issue of drug abuse very seriously in our constituencies. because we are all suffering the dangers of this aftermath or the abuse and the misbehavior of most of our youths. My own contribution will be in the areas of awareness. We have institutions, we have laws, we have agencies who are saddled with apprehending either drug pushers or drug peddlers or those who even engage in the abuse of these substances. But in the areas of awareness is where we are lacking. I would like us to avert our mind to a situation whereby awareness of drug abuse should even be taken down to the elementary stage of our institutions, so that those who unknowingly get involved in this habit can be educated, can be enlightened before it's too late. In our schools, especially the secondary schools, it has gotten so bad now that those days when you hear people who abuse substances, you think they are only in the higher institutions. But now it has gotten to the level of secondary school. You find them sometimes patronizing the pharmaceutical shops to buy what they call Benelin with codeine. The pharmaceutical shops sometimes sell these things to them in the pretense that they are selling them medication for cough-related sickness. But rather, they are abusing this.
You have 1 second remaining.
Okay, sir. Well, bottom line is I'm just encouraging that with the good intent of this bill, we should further look at the awareness side of it so that we can encourage awareness and rehabilitation in schools. And they should start using it possibly as a subject, whereby it will be either an extra curriculum subject for schools to be able to teach the pupils on the dangers of drug abuse. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you. I can see Senator Suleiman said it.
Represent Kwara North in the Senate of the Federal Republic. Mr. Chairman, I've listened to everybody, and the concerns raised are genuine. Drug is a serious problem, but the issue here is, what's the best framework, what's the best institutional approach to solving this problem? It's not by creating new agency. We have an NDLEA. Just yesterday, I was in a conversation with the chairman. It is how to make sure you strengthen NDLEA, because it's part of his mandate. It's lack of funding. NDLEA is not well funded. We're already talking. I'm the vice chairman of drugs and narcotics, and we are seeing how can we make sure we empower NDLEA to do this job right. That's what is required. But, I mean, we are lawmakers. Sentiments will not solve our problem. What we are expressing, we are worried. Yes, it's true. But let's approach it institutionally and make sure that we get the job done properly. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. For this bill that is for second reading, I want to say that except this bill wants to be passed for academic purposes, it will not serve the purpose for which it is intended. Number one, the bill is seeking to establish a national institute for drug awareness and rehabilitation. It simply means that creating awareness and rehabilitation is the major object of this bill, among others. Therefore, I think that having one institute is not going to be the solution for the problem we have right now. We already have institutes across the country if it's to create awareness. That's an easier, faster way to create that awareness. That's number one. Number two, this country, we have a population of in excess of at least 250 million. One institute will not be able to solve the problem of awareness across. Then the third reason is that the people that this institute is seeking to admit on this matter is in every nook and cranny of the country.
Senator Jewel, you have 1 second remaining.
So I want to say that this bill, if passed, will not serve the purpose for which it is intended. We should look for other means of creating awareness and rehabilitating drug people. And NDLA is there, national orientation is there, and I think that is the only way to go, not by creating an additional institute, by creating more proliferation of institutes.
Thank you very much. Senator Dixon, I want to refer to your contribution. You went in between. You went in between. You are neither here nor there. And Senator Ningi also alluded to the fact, the practice here, that always allow bills to go to the next stage so that it can further scrutinize and people are allowed to ventilate their views. And then, because we're all doing this on behalf of the people, we understand your concerns, particularly the standpoint of Senator Oshomole, who's an ardent believer of the importance of Orosanya report. He always, go in line with that anytime we have debate of on establishment of agencies, new agencies. But we also have to look at our tradition here to allow bills to move further so that they can be further studied. And the point, the approval belongs to you. You are the one to decide. Nobody will tell you to do what you don't want to do. But the fact remains that we have a practice here to always allow bills to go further, to allow for proper scrutiny. And whenever we feel, by the time the report is brought by the relevant committee here, and we feel that we are not convinced, we can throw it away at that point. But that's the practice. So I'll now put the question so that we can have your view, your approval or otherwise for the further processing of this bill. But I want to refer to you the views of Senator Dixon. He talked very well about it. Also, Senator Ningi alluded to the same, went through the same direction. So let me put the question. Those in favor that this bill be read the second time, please say aye. Those against say nay. Now, I didn't hear very well. Let me put the question again. Let's put the question again. And then I can see several in line with the Dixon's stance. Please, those in favor that this bill be ready second time, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So thank you. Before we, the clerk of the Senate. A bill for to establish the National Institute for Drug Awareness and Rehabilitation to coordinate efforts in promoting drug awareness, preventing substance abuse, and facilitating rehabilitation of drug users, and for related matters, 2024 second reading taken. Let me commend all the senators, and indeed everyone that contributed to this debate. It shows the passion, your passion to deal with this matter. Everybody spoke very well within your heart to make sure this national calamity is brought to an end, or eradicated or substantially reduced, because it's something that is really into the fabrics of our youth, fabrics of our society. And the NDLA, I must say, has been doing very well since the takeover or the leadership of the current chairman is brought into that organization, that agency. The agency has been doing very well. We need to commend them for that. Because once someone is doing well, as a leader, as a chairman, he needs to be commended so that he can do more. To now say they are not doing well, I think is not the correct narrative about how NDL is being run as we speak. So we should continue to explore ways to deal with this national calamity. So I commend everybody that spoke, and I thank all of you. The Senate leader. The bill is referred to the Committee on Drugs and Narcotics and to report back within 4 weeks. The leader of Senate.